Welcome to this deep dive. You've sent us some really fascinating material about the all, particularly how it's presented in the Kybalion. And while we're diving right in, it seems like you're really searching for tangible truths behind this massive concept. What is the all? Is it literally everything? To help us unpack this, we have our expert in ancient texts and philosophies. Welcome.
It's great to be here. It's fascinating just asking these questions. It kind of puts us on the path of inquiry that the Kybalion, it encourages. It's less about pinning down the right answer and more about the journey of exploration itself, wouldn't you say?
I love that no pop quiz on the all today. But seriously, before we get lost in the cosmos, you're great at taking these ancient texts and, I don't know, making them relevant today. What can you tell us about the origins of this whole all idea? Where'd it come from?
Well, the Kybalion draws really heavily from Hermetic philosophy. Imagine wisdom teachings passed down for centuries. That's Hermeticism in a nutshell. And the all is at the very heart of it, this idea of an unchanging reality. But it's like beneath the surface of everything we see and experience.
Okay, so we're going beyond the physical world here, not just planets and stars, but beyond our own senses even. But you use the words unchanging reality, and honestly, the world we experience, I don't know, feels kind of like the opposite of unchanging, right? I mean, things are born, they die, empires rise and fall. Help us out here. How does that fit in?
Yeah, no, you've hit on a key point, and it's something that the Kybalion addresses directly, actually. Think of it this way. There are two levels of reality. Okay, on the surface, we have the world of appearances, always in flux, never permanent. But underneath, there's a deeper principle at play. And the Kybalion calls this substantial reality.
Substantial reality. I like the sound of that. Is that kind of like the bedrock, the foundation that everything else is built upon?
That's a great analogy. Imagine a movie projected onto a screen, right? The movie itself, the images, the story, those emotions it evokes, right? That's like our everyday experience, constantly changing. But the screen itself, that unchanging surface the movie is projected on, that's similar to this substantial reality. It's constant, even while the movie plays out.
Okay, I'm starting to get a feel for this, but how do we even begin to grasp something as vast as the all? Where do we even start?
It's true. Even the Kybalion admits that completely grasping the true essence of the all is, well, it's beyond us, beyond human comprehension. It'd be like a child trying to understand how the entire universe works.
So it's inherently mysterious. I have to say, that's intimidating and fascinating kind of at the same time. But if it's so far beyond us, why bother? Why even try to understand it?
Because even though we may never fully grasp the all, the Kybalion suggests that simply thinking about it, reasoning through its qualities, it can actually lead us to profound insights about ourselves and the world. That's a journey you started when you sent us these materials. It's about the impact, even without all the answers.
Okay, color me intrigued. But how do we even begin to reason about something that's supposed to be beyond human understanding?
Well, the Kybalion uses a process of deduction. The premise is that the all is, well, all there is. And if it truly encompasses everything, then logically it must have certain inherent qualities.
All right, I do love a good logic puzzle. What's the first deduction about the all, then?
If the all is everything, then there can't be anything outside of it. Picture a completed puzzle. There are no missing pieces. Nothing exists beyond its borders. This means the all must be infinite, boundless, limitless in the truest sense of the word.
That makes sense. It can't be the all if there's something else out there that it's not. So the all being infinite, what else can we deduce about it?
This idea of infinity applies to time, too, because the all is everything. Nothing could have created it.
Right.
That would mean something existed outside of it to do the creating, which we've already ruled out.
So the all has always been, it's eternal. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a mind-blowing concept.
And it gets even more mind-blowing. By that same logic, the all must continue to exist forever. There's nothing that could destroy it, nothing could become that isn't already a part of it. You, me, this recording, these ideas, already part of the all.
We're talking true immortality here. This is heavy stuff. So the all is infinite, eternal. What else can we glean from this deduction process?
Think about this. If the all is infinite in both time and space, it also has to be infinitely powerful, absolute. There can't be any force outside of it that could control it or limit it. Again, that contradicts the whole idea of it being everything.
We're not just talking about some energy source. We're talking about power beyond anything we can even imagine.
Exactly. And it gets even more profound. According to the Kybalion, this power isn't static or inert. It's dynamic, it's alive, it's constantly in motion.
Hold on. We're moving beyond the simple building blocks of the universe here. Are we talking about something more like Consciousness? Like life itself?
Precisely. And this is where interpretations of the Kybalion, they start to diverge, because it raises a lot more questions than it answers. What does it mean for the universe to be a manifestation of this infinite living mind? If that's true, where do we, as individuals with our own minds, fit into the grand scheme of things?
Okay, those are some big questions, maybe even too big to unpack in a single deep dive. But I'm curious to explore this idea of infinite living mind a bit further. If the all is more than just matter and energy, what does that tell us about life itself? Could our definition of life be too limited?
Now, those are the questions that have puzzled philosophers and mystics for centuries. And while the Kybalion offers clues, it ultimately leaves each of us to grapple with them ourselves. It's a personal journey, unique to each individual.
So we're all on our own quest to connect with this infinite living mind. I'm sensing a theme here. Maybe the true power of the all isn't just about understanding it intellectually. Maybe it's about experiencing it directly, wouldn't you say?
You're picking up on something crucial there. The Kybalion emphasizes that simply studying these concepts is just the first step. True transformation comes from actually applying these principles to our own lives, seeing how they play out in our own experiences.
This is starting to feel less like a philosophy lecture and more like a call to action. But before we jump into the practical applications, I want to revisit something you mentioned earlier about the all being immutable, unchanging. How does that affect our understanding of the world if everything is in flux?
You're right, we do need to unpack that a bit further. If the all truly is unchanging, how do we reconcile that with a world where change is constant? Where does change fit into this picture of an eternal, never-changing reality? The paradox, isn't it?
This is what I love about the Kybalion. It really makes you think. It sounds like we're about to delve even deeper into this paradox of change and permanence. Let's take a quick pause here and come back to untangle that paradox. It's like we're trying to hold on to these two, I don't know, seemingly opposite ideas, that everything is always changing and that nothing ever really changes. Does the Kybalion offer any insights into how to make sense of this contradiction?
It does, and this is where that concept of substantial reality we talked about earlier comes back into play. Remember that movie analogy? The screen itself doesn't change, but what we see as change is happening within, like within the projected image. In the same way, the Kybalion suggests that this world of appearances, the world of constant change, is like a projection, like coming from this deeper, unchanging reality of the all.
So it's not that change is an illusion. It's more like we're mistaking the movie for the screen itself.
Exactly. The Kybalion isn't denying that we experience change. It's pointing out that our perception of change is limited by our perspective. From the standpoint of the all, which, encompasses all of time and space at once, there's a sense in which everything is like already complete and whole.
Okay, I can start to wrap my head around that. It's like the difference between watching a movie scene by scene versus like experiencing the entire film reel all at once. But if everything comes from this unchanging source, this all, what does that mean for like the physical world? Is the Kybalion saying that the material universe is somehow less real than the all?
That's where it gets even more complex. The Kybalion doesn't dismiss the physical world entirely, but it challenges us to really examine what we mean by real. If the all is this infinite living mind, then what we perceive as solid matter and energy might be better understood as thought forms, like mental projections of this greater mind.
Whoa, hold on. Are we talking about the universe being a giant thought projection? That's getting into it's all in your head territory, isn't it?
Not quite. It's more nuanced than that. The Kybalion is suggesting that matter and energy, even though they appear solid and separate to us, are ultimately manifestations of something more fundamental, this infinite living mind.
Okay, I'm trying to follow this, but if everything ultimately originates from this mind, then what does that make us? Are we just thoughts within thoughts?
The Kybalion hints at a deep interconnectedness between our individual minds and this infinite living mind it calls the all. Think of it like this. A single drop of water contains the same essence as the ocean, right? In the same way, our individual minds, they reflect the qualities of this larger universal mind.
So we're all connected to this vast universal consciousness that's both amazing and a bit daunting at the same time. But if the all is this infinite living mind, what's the purpose of the physical universe in the first place? Why create a material world at all?
That's a question for the ages, isn't it? And the Kybalion, like a lot of ancient wisdom traditions, it doesn't provide any easy answers. It suggests that this physical universe is a kind of school for consciousness to evolve. By experiencing ourselves as separate beings within this material realm, we learn these valuable lessons that ultimately contribute to the unfolding of this greater mind.
Okay, so it's like a cosmic classroom, but with way higher stakes than any pop quiz. But I'm still grappling with this whole infinite living mind idea. If the all is this vast impersonal consciousness, where do things like, I don't know, individual personality, free will, and our own unique purpose, where do they fit in? Are we just cogs in some giant cosmic machine?
The Kybalion directly addresses those concerns. It stresses that even though we are ultimately a part of this larger all, our individual experiences and the choices we make, they still matter.
So we're not just puppets on strings. We have genuine agency, even within this massive cosmic picture.
Precisely. The Kybalion uses the analogy of an author writing a story. Just like an author creates characters with their own unique personalities and motivations, this infinite living mind expresses itself through the incredible diversity of life. But here's the key point. The characters in a story, even though they're ultimately creations of the author's imagination, still experience their choices and actions as real within the story.
So are you saying we're both characters in a cosmic story and co-creators with this infinite living mind?
That's one way to look at it. The Kybalion encourages us to see ourselves not as passive bystanders in some, predetermined play, but as active participants in this unfolding creative process.
That's a much more empowering way to think about it. But I have to admit, this whole idea of infinite living mind is a lot to take in. How do we even begin to connect with something so vast in our daily lives? It feels almost impossible.
The Kybalion suggests that the key to connecting with the all is to cultivate a deeper understanding of our own minds.
So it's like the saying, as above, so below, the microcosm reflecting the macrocosm.
Exactly. When we study the principles within the Kybalion and apply them to our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, we start to align ourselves with those same principles that govern the universe as a whole.
That makes sense. But it also sounds like a lifelong practice, not just a weekend workshop.
You're absolutely right. The Kybalion isn't some quick fix or a set of rules to follow blindly. It's an invitation to start a journey, one of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. It's about recognizing the immense power within our own minds and how that connects us to something far, far greater than ourselves.
I think that's what makes these ancient teachings so relevant, even today. They remind us that we're not just these isolated beings, we're part of something so much grander and more mysterious than we can even imagine. Speaking of mysteries, I want to revisit something we touched on earlier. The Kybalion, it seems to draw a distinction between religion and theology and philosophy and metaphysics. Why make that distinction? What's the significance?
You've hit on something really important. This gets to the core of how the Kybalion approaches, like seeking knowledge and understanding. By contrasting religion with theology, it highlights the difference between direct personal experience and like following dogma.
Okay, so it's not about blindly believing what someone else tells you, but rather about cultivating a personal, direct connection to something greater than yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. For those who follow Hermetic teachings, true religion isn't about, rituals or beliefs. It's about cultivating an inner knowing, a deep personal understanding of one's place within the grand scheme of things.
So it's more about the feeling of connection with the divine, rather than subscribing to any particular set of doctrines.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that connection to the all within yourself. Theology, on the other hand, often gets bogged down in trying to define and limit something that's ultimately undefinable.
So it's about moving beyond the limitations of language and dogma, and instead experiencing that connection firsthand. What about the distinction between philosophy and metaphysics? Where does that fit into all of this?
The Kybalion makes a similar distinction there. It sees philosophy as a valuable tool for understanding the world around us, for using reason and logic to explore those aspects of existence that we can know and understand.
So using our minds to make sense of the world, but recognizing there are limits.
Exactly. Metaphysics, on the other hand, while well-intentioned, can sometimes get lost in trying to grasp concepts that are ultimately beyond the human mind. It's like trying to measure infinity with a ruler. The tool just isn't up to the task.
So it's not that the Kybalion dismisses metaphysics completely, but it encourages a more grounded approach to understanding the all. Am I on the right track?
Precisely. It's about recognizing the limits of our human intellect while still remaining open to the possibility of a reality that exists beyond those limits.
That's what I find so fascinating about these ancient texts. They push us to expand our thinking while also acknowledging that we as humans, we have limits in our understanding. But I have to say, after diving deep into the all, I have more questions than answers.
And that, my friend, is the beauty of it. The Kybalion isn't about handing you all the answers. It's about sparking your curiosity, getting your imagination going, and
Huh.
inviting you on your own personal journey of discovery.
A journey that, from the sounds of it, never really ends. But before we lose ourselves in these cosmic ideas completely, I want to bring things back down to earth for our listener. What are some key takeaways from all of this? How can understanding the all actually impact, I don't know, how we live our everyday lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What good is all of this heady philosophy,
Right.
if it doesn't translate into a more meaningful and fulfilling life, right?
Exactly. So how do we bridge the gap between these vast cosmic concepts and the realities of our daily lives?
The Kybalion suggests that by aligning ourselves with the principles of the all, we can tap into this incredible source of power and wisdom,
Yeah.
one that can impact every aspect of our being.
Okay, sign me up for that transformation. But how do we even begin? Give us the Spark Notes version.
One of the most powerful takeaways is the realization that we're not separate, isolated beings. We were interconnected expressions of this vast universal consciousness.
So shifting from a mindset of separation to one of interconnectedness.
Exactly. When we truly grasp that we're all part of this interconnected web of life, it changes everything. How we see ourselves, how we treat others, how we interact with the world around us.
It's like that saying, we're all in this together, but in this case, this is like the entire cosmos.
You got it. And that realization can be incredibly freeing. It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles and our triumphs. We're all part of something much, much bigger than ourselves. And that connection, it gives our lives meaning and purpose.
Okay, I can feel a sense of cosmic connection building. But I'm also someone who appreciates practical advice. How do we take this idea of interconnectedness and put it into practice in our everyday lives? What does that actually look like?
One powerful way is by practicing compassion. Compassion for ourselves and for others.
Hmm.
When we remember that we're all cut from the same cloth, so to speak, it becomes easier to extend grace and understanding, even when we're faced with difficult people or situations.
So remembering that everyone is doing the best they can with what they've got.
Exactly. And when we approach life with that compassionate lens, it creates this ripple effect that impacts not just our own lives, but the world around us as well.
It's like we're all part of a giant feedback loop. What we put out into the world comes back to us.
You're exactly right. And when we consciously choose to align our actions with the principles of the all, we become part of this powerful force for positive change.
Okay, I'm convinced compassion is key. But I also know I'm someone who struggles with self-doubt and fear at times. Does understanding the all offer any help in overcoming those more challenging emotions?
The Kybalion offers a powerful antidote to fear and self-doubt, remembering that we are ultimately expressions of this infinite living mind, a source of limitless potential and power.
So it's about remembering that we are not defined by our limitations, but rather we are expressions of this vast creative intelligence at the heart of existence.
Exactly. And when we connect with that truth, when we really let it sink in, we can tap into this wellspring of strength and resilience. That's what allows us to face challenges head on and create a more fulfilling life.
It's like drawing on the power of the universe itself.
Precisely. And that's an incredible source of empowerment.
This is what I find so inspiring about exploring these ancient wisdom teachings. They remind us that we have access to this incredible wellspring of power and wisdom within ourselves. But I'm also mindful that we've been diving deep into these concepts for a while now. We want to be respectful of our listeners' time.
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in such a rich and fascinating topic.
Yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore. But let's give our listeners something specific to ponder as they go about their day. We spent this deep dive exploring the all, this awe-inspiring concept of a universe that's, well, infinite, eternal, and conscious. It's a lot to take in. But as you've been exploring in the material you sent us, even beginning to grasp this idea can be life-changing, right? It can help us approach life with more compassion and purpose, and even tap into a wellspring of inner strength.
And one of the points that Kybalion makes is that the real magic isn't just in the intellectual understanding of it all. It's in making these concepts an active part of our lives.
So true. And that's what I want to leave our listener with today, something to really ponder. We've been talking about the all as this infinite living mind, this interconnected web of existence. If we really take that to heart, how might it change the way we interact with the world around us? And I'm not talking about some, abstract philosophy here, but the actual everyday choices we make. What do you think?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? If we shift our perspective and we start to see the universe not just as a like a collection of separate objects, but as a unified field of consciousness, how does that change our actions?
It's a powerful question, right? If we truly believed in the depth of that interconnectedness, would we make different choices in like how we treat each other, in how we care for our planet, how we approach even the smallest moments of our day?
I think that the Kybalion would suggest that the more we align ourselves with the principles of the all, this idea of oneness, of infinite potential, of an ever-present creative force, the more those qualities will naturally flow into everything we do.
That makes me think about those times when I feel most connected to something, I don't know, larger than myself, whether it's through nature or art or meditation or even just like a deep conversation. It's in those moments that compassion, creativity, and just like a sense of purpose, it seems to flow more easily.
It's like tapping into that universal source, that infinite living mind, and the Kybalion offers a framework for doing that more consciously, for making those moments not just happy accidents, but a more consistent part of our experience.
So, to our listener, as you continue to explore the incredible material you shared with us, keep that question in mind. How might your understanding of the all shape your choices, your actions, your very way of being in the world?
It's a journey of a lifetime. And the Kybalion is a powerful guide.
Absolutely. Thank you for diving deep with us today. Remember, keep asking those big questions, keep exploring the mysteries of the all, and keep living a life that reflects the wisdom of this incredible interconnected universe that we're all a part of.